So good morning from my side, Shikha.
Good morning, sir.
So you can start whenever you like.
Yes, so I start with Professor R.C. Sinha. His topic is ethical discourse on Kārya and Akārya. Sir will have 15 minutes for presentation and last 10 minutes for Q&A, question answer session.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Should I begin?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Professor R.C. Sinha, former professor of philosophy in Patna University and former chairman of the Indian Council of Philosophical Research in New Delhi. Currently, I am in Pittsburgh. So here it is morning time, and certainly I missed some of the lectures, but I heard two very important lectures, one on Buddhism and the other on Jainism. I'm thankful to Professor S.R. Bhatt, who had been the former chairman of the ICPR, and I'm very much thankful to Vishnu Mohan Foundation, especially to Sri Swami Hari Prasad Ji, who has invited me to join this August meeting. Swami Hari Prasad Ji is a well-known figure not only in South India, but all over the world. And his dedication to philosophical discipline and philosophical thought is certainly wonderful. I had been earlier to Vishnu Mohan Foundation, and I observed that philosophy as a discipline may be at low ebb in the university. But Swami Hari Prasad Ji, in his premises of Vishnu Mohan Foundation, has made philosophy alive. And perchance, eminent philosophers like Professor S.R. Bhatt, Professor Paneer Selvam, Professor Sri Kalaman, and naturally the chairperson of this session. So I am really lucky that sitting far away from the premises, I had been given opportunity to present this paper. The first question which comes to my mind is why Swami Hari Prasad Ji is set out to discuss the concepts of Kārya and Akārya. What prompted him, I don't know, but he is very much keen to discuss this problem of Kārya and Akārya. Hopefully, he is very much concerned concerned to pursue ethics of life, because the person, the Swami, discussing the philosophical aspects of Kārya and Akārya is certainly concerned with the ethics of life. I congratulate the organizers for choosing such a relevant subject for both professionals and non-professionals. This topic is not only relevant for teachers of philosophy, but it is not only relevant for sannyasis, it is relevant for professionals who are working in different multinational organizations. So certainly this topic becomes very important, and the very opening sentence of the invitation is that the first time this subject, Kārya and Akārya, the theme Kārya and Akārya, is being discussed with reference to Indian philosophy, within the backdrop of Indian philosophy. So this is a very lively subject. Now, I will discuss something about the title which I have given, Ethical Discourse on Kārya and Akārya. So let me understand the meaning of Kārya and Akārya. What I understand by Kārya and Akārya? So naturally, this concept, the concept which organizers have made it, the concepts of Kārya and Akārya. So what I mean by Kārya and what I mean by Akārya. If the tree falls on the head of somebody, can we say that it is a Kārya? And if somebody is sleeping in the night, can we say that it is Akārya? So naturally, every action cannot come within the fold of Kārya and Akārya. According to the context and according to the philosophical nuance this topic deserves. So Kārya, naturally, if it assumes moral connotation, then only we can talk significantly that we can make the distinction between Kārya and Akārya, and especially in Indian philosophy, when we talk about Indian philosophy. So some of the speakers like Professor Rana Purushottam ji and Professor Jain, they have taken up this problem in the backdrop of Buddhism and Jainism. So naturally, I will concentrate this topic in the backdrop, analyze this topic in the background of Bhagavad Gita. It is and Bhagavad Gita, especially गीता रहस्य और कर्म योग शास्त्र बाल गंगाधर तिलक. So I will concentrate. I will attempt to analyze these two concepts with reference to Karma Yoga Shastra Bal Gangadhar Tilak. The Bhagavad Gita, as you know, everybody knows, holds a very important place among the world's great scriptures. I say, repeat, Bhagavad Gita holds a great importance in the world's scripture. Hindus regard it with the same respect and love as Christians regard the gospel, Christian regards the Bible. So naturally, the importance of Bhagavad Gita is well known. And Hindus, they love Gita. If one text which is worldwide accepted, that is Bhagavad Gita. So Gita is a tale of action, taking the form of a dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna on the eve of a battle. Krishna teaches the perplexed Arjuna the need for action and the requirement that naturally man cannot live without action. So man is committed to some action, but every action, as I said earlier, cannot be put under the category of the Kārya or Akārya. So naturally, ethical discourse becomes very important. So when I talk about ethical, the title is Ethical Discourse. So I am reminded of discourse ethics as propounded by Habermas. My idea, my intention is not to understand Bhagavad Gita in the light of Habermas or understand Habermas in the light of Bhagavad Gita. That will be a far-fetched approach. But since I have mentioned on the title is Ethical Discourse. So, and discourse ethics and ethical discourse, that requires to be understood. So, Habermas, the great German philosophers, the contemporary philosopher, and perchance in Athens I had an occasion to see and to converse with him. He talks about ethical discourse. He talks about discourse ethics. And hopefully Professor Paneerselvam is in the webinar. And he is well acquainted with the works of Habermas. So discourse ethics and ethical discourse, they are two different things. I have used the word ethical discourse because in the Indian setting, and especially in the setting of Bhagavad Gita, we have to understand in an ethical background. So discourse ethics is a new discipline according to Habermas. He propounded. And his concept of communicative rationality, that is very much operative when he talks about discourse ethics. By discourse ethics, what I have understood that any concept of the good or bad, right or wrong, Kārya or Akārya, can be understood when we go to the public and when we converse with the others. The others' participation is very important. The Kārya becomes Kārya according to the settings of the ethical discourse ethics. When it is shareable, communicable, a moral or a value system needs more than one person. So that is what, in a very simple language, we can say discourse ethics attempts to understand the concept of the Kārya and Akārya. I mean, keeping in view the Habermas contribution to discourse ethics, we can understand, rather I understand, that Kārya cannot be Kārya in isolation. It must have a public concern with the others. And that's why we see that ethical discourse of, when I talk about ethical discourse of Bhagavad Gita, we see that the preachings, the discourse is in the battlefield. It is not a discourse in isolation. It is not a value imbibed by an individual. A value becomes value when it is concerned to others, when it is concerned to the public. So when it is communicable. So this is regarding ethical discourse and the discourse ethics. And the second point which I would like to touch is that how the Western thinkers, rather in the initial course, we understand the distinction between moral and non-moral. Actions can be understood in two categories. This is the elementary understanding of the students of philosophy, that action can be divided under two heads, that is moral and non-moral. And certainly immoral actions can be also kept under the category of the moral action. And that is a theoretical position, that is the understanding of the discipline, philosophical discipline of ethics. So moral and immoral can be put under the moral actions. By this, I mean that if you pass a moral judgment, either good or bad, that comes under the moral actions. If you say something is bad, something is evil, to speak lie is an evil. This is also a kind of moral judgment. So when we can pass moral judgments, that comes under the moral action. And there are certain actions which are non-moral. For instance, if the mountain falls and the man dies, or I can say very many people die, can we pass a moral judgment that a stone, falling of a stone is immoral? We cannot. So that is a non-moral action. So this is the Western understanding of moral and non-moral, moral, immoral, and non-moral actions. When we have clubbed moral and immoral in one category, so, but when we come to the concepts of Kārya and Akārya, we don't have that Western structure. When we talk about Kārya and Akārya, we are very clear that Kārya is laden with values, and Akārya is certainly laden with this value. Two, if we speak lie, can we say that it is a Kārya? Speaking lie is certainly not a Kārya. It is Akārya. So we have to understand it in the backdrop of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, especially in the backdrop of Gita Rahasya or Karma Shastra, Karma Yoga Shastra. This Karma Yoga Shastra, Gita Rahasya or Karma Yoga Shastra, was written in Marathi earlier. Later on, translations, we got English translation and the translations in very many languages. So Bal Gangadhar Tilak was Indian social reformer and activist. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, while he was in prison in Burma, he penned down this Karma Yoga Shastra.
It's 23 minutes. If you can.
Okay. I can finish it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you.
So this translation runs into 1220 pages, such a big book. I have read the English version of Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak's classic, and that is a Karma Yoga Shastra or Gita Rahasya. Tilak was a great philosopher. He was confirmed this title of Lokmanya, which literally means accepted by the people. Naturally, when we were talking about discourse ethics of Habermas, I rather refer that any action, moral action, or by Kārya I mean the Kārya which can be accepted by the people, and it should be communicable. So here the title of Lokmanya, that literally means accepted by the people. Tilak was, as you know, Bal Gangadhar Tilak talked about welfare of the humanity. He talked about the Lok Bhagavad Gita, And he emphasized karma is very important. Karma cannot be understood as secondary. Shankaracharya emphasized on the Jnana Yoga, and naturally Bal Gangadhar Tilak emphasizes on Karma Yoga, and Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga or Bhakti Yoga should not be taken separately. So the upshot of this discussion, Kārya and Akārya, is that we should evolve samatva yoga. Siddhe siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga. This, when you open the pages of Gita Rahasya, on the very first page you will find about samatva yoga. So naturally, since I have been given the warning by the chairperson, Dr. Shekhar Sharma, so I should not exceed the time limit. So naturally, with this, hopefully I have tried to analyze the conceptual understanding, and with these words, hopefully I have completed the allotted time. So I extend my thanks, and I extend my deep regards to Puchi Swamiji for giving me valuable time, and I extend my thanks to the chairperson, Dr. Shekhar Sharma. Thank you very much.